Welcome to the Art of Conscious Living. Today I have a very special guest, a returning guest, Peter Van Dyke. He's a master peace educator. We're here to talk about his life, his work, and a lot of things that have come up in his life on a very personal level, to share, to inspire, to share all of his wisdom of love, of the inner love and the journey that he has to move towards this love and to express his love and be this love. I'm very, very pleased to have him in the studio today. Thank you, Peter.
Wow.
Welcome.
You. Thank you. I'm pleased, honored to be here. I don't really know, I don't know if I have a whole lot of wisdom, but I do have an experience to share.
Well, the wisdom I was talking about was the wisdom of being in the authentic and stepping up, and when things come in one's life of adversity, that one knows that they have to open up and be still with it and be moved to the acceptance of the grace of love. And that's the wisdom. There's no more finer wisdom than that. It's not about the wisdom, let me define it, it's not about being book read or having so much information in the mind and being very analytical. It's about, as you spoke about in our previous talk when you were on our show, you were speaking about love and how that guides your life. So I'm going to ask you now to read, actually, something that you had posted recently.
Okay.
And that's going to set up the premises of what we're going to be speaking about.
So should I mention that about 5.5 months ago I got diagnosed with cancer?
Yes.
Stage 4 melanoma. So I have still a large tumor under my arm, but it has shrunk, and I have small tumors in my other lymph nodes and in my lungs.
Okay.
So.
And you've been undergoing treatment.
I've been undergoing chemotherapy 4 months, and anyway, I can talk all about that because the medical system has been loving and kind, but I can talk about that later. But this is what I wrote about what's been, and anybody can look up the prognosis for stage 4 melanoma. Although now it's a lot better than it has been in the last 5 years, because there's a lot of advancement and a lot of new things about, even a lot of alternative medications that are now coming on that seem to be really useful and helpful with melanoma. So, but this is what I wrote. And I've been writing on Facebook, a page that some friends put up because I wanted to keep in touch. I am most amazed and impressed and fascinated by the ability of one human being to love another human being and to forgive another human being. I think this is the secret of the universe, the multiverse, the only thing I have to say. People love. They love each other, they love themselves, they love more than one person. People love their families, their friends, their dogs, coffee. I say coffee because I can't have coffee now that I'm on chemo. So a cool breeze on a warm day, eyes. Don't you just love eyes? So this is what in the chemo now, my only main side effect is I'm losing my hair, and I think my voice is sometimes being impacted by the lymph nodes. But fatigue. But when I get into fatigue now, love is starting to carry me and surround me. And so I say, anyway, this is what has been filling my days. The simple realization that people love. People everywhere. They simply love. They love perfectly, sometimes not so perfectly. Is that true? Can any love be imperfect? Doggone, that's just amazing. Damn, that is amazing, and marvelous, and worthy of praise. Everyone I know loves someone, or they love something, they love some idea, they love some moment, they love anticipating. Everyone wants love, needs love, everyone has love, everyone is love. So stop right now and let love fill you. Let any love that you have fill you. Let it flush out anything else until only love remains. Isn't that something? When reminded, you can experience, create, remember, find, imagine, be love. You can contact it at any moment. Love is waiting for you and waiting for me. Your love is undeniable. Is this actually love? Is it yours? Is it mine? It's pretty divine. So, anyway, then I wrote, the cancer that's inside me, that I'm learning to love. This cancer got its start when I forgot this simple, absolute truth. I had chased love away, closed down to love. I had forgotten even the love of God, the love of our designer. And then love came alive in me again. The cancer sparked, ignited, reminded me of this. Our design, our simple but profound design. No, actually, you, my friends, sparked and ignited and reminded me of this. You with your love. You, the others in my world, showed up, and so did love. So it is you who are designed to love, who showed up and graced and blessed me and reminded me that I too am designed to love. I had forgotten my song, my design, my love, and then you showed up, seeing me, holding me, loving me, singing my song, inviting me, welcoming me home to myself, to love. And then love exploded in my soul, and love became all there was. And so I thank you. So anyway, I just finished with... Then we should stop because I can feel a song coming on. You know that Beatles song?
Yes.
Love.
All there is. Love. Love.
You sing it.
Love is all there is.
Love is all there is. Yeah,
Absolutely.
you don't want to hear me sing it. So anyway, that's what's been coming to me. And that's what I wrote the other day.
It's very beautiful. I'm so struck by, when I read it, of how honest it was. How somebody could be going through the seriousness of what you're going through, of a medical condition, and you're able to move to these deep levels within you and connect to this incredible vast spring of love and connect to your heart. You chose love over fear. Most of the people, a lot of people in your position would go to the fear part. They'd be in the throes of fear, and the more they wrestled in it, it would be like they're in the rose bushes, and they would be tearing themselves apart and be shredded with the thorns of the fear. Uh-huh. So let's start from the very beginning. What was it like when you were sitting in front of the doctor and he says you have cancer?
Oh, wow. I wanted to write a poem actually called You Have Stage 4 Melanoma.
Okay.
because it really is. And the most amazing thing for me was that I didn't probably hear another thing for 2 days after that sentence. And I had a friend with me, an angel who showed up in my life, who has come to just about every doctor appointment I have with me. And she has been through this before. And she's like the best, so I just kind of can, and at that day, I remember I just didn't hear anything else. But then what I really wanted to know was like, how long does that mean? You know, like the first question that came to me was like, So stage 4 melanoma, I know I have a tumor. I can feel the tumor under my arm. I have it in my lungs. I have it in other lymph nodes. But I don't have it in my brain, and I don't have it in my liver. And so there's some good news, there's some bad news. And about 3 years ago, I sat with a friend of mine who had stage 4 melanoma. And his partner, his lover, soulmate actually, she was there 90% of the time, and I was there like 10% of the time. But I actually knew the prognosis with stage 4 melanoma because that's what he had. But he had it in other organs, and it spread pretty fast. And I don't know what's happening inside of me, but I know that over the course of getting the chemo and stuff, I've been feeling so blessed to be able to just, say I'm sorry, ask for forgiveness, say thank you, and feel the love. Kind of that thing from Hawaii, the ono pono ono kind of stuff. And I've actually gained 20 pounds in the last 2 months. So I was a lot sicker, and the pain has totally resided. I don't have pain, except for, maybe a couple times a day, but not anything like I had. I mean, so.
Would it be fair to say that the cancer moved you and forced you and lulled you into a more of getting to a easier place within inside yourself? It introduced you to surrender to yourself. Maybe, perhaps before you were diagnosed with cancer, you had a concept of what love was all about. And this is now, with the diagnosis, it shifts everything, and it demands of you to make a deeper inquiry. It forces you to do that. Would that be a good estimation of what your journey has been, or?
Oh, no, yes. And see, I think what you're describing is this ability to trust, and to trust that love is, to trust that anything that happens is ultimately for the benefit of all, so that you learn from it. I have a friend that talks about, events that happen in your life. You can either be in a courtroom or you can be in a classroom. And cancer has taught me a lot already. I mean, things that I never paid attention to cancer before. And I've had friends that had cancer. I sat with a friend of mine who died of cancer. I've known other people that have had cancer, family members, friends that have had cancer and died. But now I have an intimate relationship with cancer. And something like 40% of all Americans are going to get cancer.
What is the difference, Peter, of witnessing somebody else who has cancer and you having cancer and being diagnosed with it and going through your journey? What is the main difference? Because you have experienced both.
Yeah. Well, I would say, that whole thing about the 4 agreements and 1 agreement, don't take it personal. It's hard to not take it personal. All right? So, and I know that all the emotional stuff and all the shadow stuff that they say associated with cancer, like they actually say there's a cancer personality, and then they say that there's also, all the environmental stuff that cause cancer. So cancer is kind of like a doorway for me into layers and veils and things that I kind of kept hidden from myself, and images that I like to kind of hide behind. And so cancer, I had to surrender to asking for help, which was the very first thing I did. And it was amazing to me how my community surrounded me with love and care and appreciation and, everything that you would need and want. Like if someone was going to write a short story about how, how loving people could be, that it's just them showing up, and being there was so powerful. And then I decided to do chemo, which was a big surrender, because I thought, I'll do alternative and I'll just, kind of ride it out. And I didn't know if I trusted the Western medicine and all of that. And then I met this doctor, an oncologist, who seemed like to be from heaven, like another made-for-TV movie or something. This guy seems like he wears heart lapel things on his shirt every time, a different heart he has. And he's the most kind-hearted person, and he's an oncologist, and I totally trust him. So for me, cancer has been a lot about trust. And it's got me really clear about I trust whatever is next. It doesn't have to be, what they say about thy will be done? Mm. I mean, I'm going to do everything I can to stay alive. And I'm going to love every moment of life, probably more than I ever have before. Although I loved life, I can't look back and, I didn't do everything perfect or everything right, or I could have some do-overs, Mm-hmm. Like three do-overs would be enough, or 300. But anyway, but so I actually feel opened and blessed, and I can see the layers of myself. That I do some shadow work and some voice dialogue work and some forgiveness work.
Well, let's address those do-overs. I have a sense that what you're speaking about is that you would like to have been more present in your past, present with your knowings and your stillness within you. As they say, be able to listen to the whispers, as they say, in the past. And now you are definitely there in this place. Mm-hmm. It's very, very obvious.
Well.
And it's very beautiful to see this. So would that be a correct idea, perhaps, of if there was any do-overs or makeovers or anything that you would have wanted to look back at your past, comparing it to where you're at now?
When you say the whispers?
Yes.
Because that's what I still think, the intuition, like that small, quiet voice that you hear. Mm. When I listen to that, miracles happen. And to really get into that kind of place, like how to be open for more of that to move through me. I mean, it used to move through me. This is one of the things about the work that I used to do. I could never feel like any of the work I did, I could give myself credit for, because it seemed like it kind of was channeled through me, and I was basically teaching somebody else's message, which was about peace and love and stopping violence in the home and patriarchy and stuff, or creating men of tears or something. It wasn't, and now it's kind of like, this seems to be more involved with what is actually happening in the moment in my life than anything else. And that small voice has led me to different things that are just incredible, and opening up to different, like being here, or doing other work with other people and stuff, and having time for myself. I do this thing now called high performance self-care. So if I want to be in high performance, I have to do a lot of self-care. And before, I was kind of on automatic with self-care. And I'm not that way. I can't be that way anymore.
Right. And what would that be today, your self-care?
Oh, like juice. Like I juice, I do, I don't know if you want, but I do coffee enemas.
Yes.
And all that kind of stuff. I'm really aware of my diet, eat a lot of like the cancer things, garlic, spinach, very pure, kind of clean, no gluten, no sugar, no alcohol, no, kind of really healthy.
Organic.
Organic. Oh yeah,
yes.
yeah. As organic as I can.
And one could say that you take the time to smell the roses. You take the time to walk and be with yourself in that loving peace. You revel in it now.
Oh yeah. And the quiet moments. You know, one of the, you know, just like I didn't know anything about cancer, I didn't know anything about chemo, and I didn't know anything about side effects, and I didn't know anything about that, right? And one of the most amazing thing is that the cancer, my relationship, I do a lot of work now about relational presence, like being able to be in relationship in the moment of now. The power of now is really big, and I really like being in relationship. So I got to be in relationship with pain. When my tumor was growing, you could actually see it grow overnight. You know, it actually got bigger overnight. It was a really rapidly growing tumor. And the pain, before I found out about morphine, the pain was really intense. But I got to be able to meditate and be in relationship with it, which was, you know, pretty personal. But then I found out it wasn't really my pain. It was pain moving through me, and I didn't have to identify with it. And so anyway,
and the pain probably lessened when you did that.
Well, it did, and it also it actually formed a relationship with me that allowed me to suspend kind of time and space and to have it be good or bad, you know, that or right or wrong. So the pain could still be there, and I could be with it, and not be in judgment of it. And just hear my voice.
And not wrestle with it.
And not, yeah.
Just to witness it and allow it to be.
Yeah. And I could let the channels open up, because a lot of times I constrict when I get pain. And then, you know, when the pain goes away, I start to open my muscles. And in this time I learned to open up, relax into the pain, even though the pain was still there, to relax other parts of my body and to just let the pain be, you know. And then I learned how to form a relationship with morphine. Because then when I went to the doctor, and the doctor said, you know, you don't have to feel that pain. You know, there's no reason to feel the pain. You can take morphine and the pain will go away. And sure enough, it did. And boy, after about, you know, 3 weeks or 4 weeks of pretty intense pain, to have the pain go away, that was pretty blessed, you know. So that was good. And then when the tumor shrunk, I found out that I didn't need the morphine and the pain was gone. So now, and it comes once in a while, but it's not bad. So, you know, so I had that all experience of learning about pain and how pain gets your attention, physical pain. I didn't know cancer was painful, you know. I didn't know that, you know. I didn't know that it could be entangled in a nerve and you know, really be painful. So
during your diagnosis and your journey, you were getting good prognosis that it was shrinking, the tumor. Let's say that it was the opposite. Let's say it was getting larger. And how would you have stayed with the same grace or the same kind of acceptance and the same beautiful place that you're at? Was it determined and detrimental of the good news or bad news, or were you, yes, you want to live, but yet we can't control it?
right.
So what was going on with that journey within you?
Well,
Were there moments of doubts?
oh, there still are, you know.
Yes.
And there's, you know, there's also moments that I kind of want to be reasonable and rational. You know, like I went to a psychic, and the psychic actually said, I see no death in your future. You know, I see you being healthy and alive. And I remember going, wow, that feels really good, you know. And then I go to the oncologist, and he's really excited, like enthusiastic, and really going like, hey, you know, this is the best. You know, you're doing really well. And so I haven't had the other. And I also know that I can go online and look at the statistics about what I have, and you know, more than a year out, and I'm already like 6 or 7 months into that year, or is pretty, or maybe 2 years, but you know, maybe a lot of times less. So I don't know, but you know, so many things happen in life anyway. Like I didn't know I was going to really, you know, have the life I did. I listened to this guy, Alan Watts, and he talks about that it's kind of like a dream. You know, if you had a choice to dream tonight, what would you dream? That would, and you know, it's like you would dream everything you want, you know, like a beautiful life, no worries, peace on earth, you know, angels singing, all the children being fed, all the women being safe, all the men caring for each other and their families, right? And then, but if you had that dream night after night after night after night, even the most perfect dream, maybe you'd say, oh, let's have a little, you know, drama. Let's have a little comedy. Let's have a little tragedy, and let's shake it up a little bit. And and so, you know, we throw all that into our lives and see how we can handle it. And that's why I think we're given forgiveness and love and tenderness and compassion. One of the things I learned about my cancer, that a really close friend of mine that I worked with for a long time said to me, and he said it in kind of a loving way, but kind of with a little jab to it too. He said, you know, Pete, you've never let people really love you. You've never let the love in. And at first I thought, wow, that kind of hurts. That's kind of a, and then I asked people that were close in my life if that was true, and they were all like, yeah, didn't you know that? Yeah, that's a, you know, like, yeah, I always thought that you didn't know that I loved you as much as I loved you, and it was really something to let that in, that I had kept love away from myself. It was almost like to be dependent on love, or to really account for that, to really to really feel the love.
And how were you doing that in their view, that you weren't letting the love in and they were feeling that?
I think I was kind of staying by myself more, and staying in a kind of place where I didn't want to be too vulnerable. Like this man who told me this, I actually loved him. But he said to me at one point, he said, you know, we don't even, you know, we don't really talk. And I thought we had a professional relationship. So I kept things kind of like there was a professional relationship, and then there was a private relationship, and, you know. And I've always wanted to have a personal relationship with a higher power. And I can't say I ever have had one, except in the last little while. And I never understood what people talked about when they said they had a personal relationship, you know, with Jesus, or a personal relationship with Buddha, or whatever. I never understood that.
That they had opened up to divinity,
Yeah.
other than something other than themselves, something outside of themselves. They opened up to a higher source, and they weren't totally reliant only on their strong willpower. There was a light coming in that was showing there was something else besides themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And you did not have that relationship. So you're having that recently, and people are coming to you and saying, wow, I didn't know you loved me, and you know, and now you're showing them now. So the difference between now and then, you were kind of walking through things and thinking about it and living it and wanting it, but it was kind of like not fully engaged.
Yeah.
Where now it's totally 100% in the presence of it.
Well, you know, I learned this thing about, they call it this heart wall, and that a lot of times people have a wall around their hearts. And one of the things that I think that happened to me is that I had this wall around my heart, and I couldn't really trust that I was worthy of love, or I couldn't really trust that love was going to stay, that there was any kind of guarantee of love, or, you know. So I always had a strange relationship with love. And I think it came about from my early age. I don't want to blame, or I'm not a victim or any of that. but it's still fascinating. And I don't think I'm the only one. I think a lot of people have this relationship with love that's kind of, you know, uh, we're still trying to figure it out. Uh, um, yeah. So anyway, and so what's happening to me, and this is what I'm really having this idea about. First of all, love at first sight. I really think I've fallen in love with. I think I fall in love with everybody now, kind of like when I first see them. I can't help it, you know, and it doesn't matter who, and it doesn't matter where, and it's a safe kind of love. You know, it's not a. It's really just love. Mm-hmm. And I think that process of you know, being in a honeymoon kind of effect. This guy Bruce Lipton wrote a book called The Honeymoon Effect about how love can really stay. And you know, I don't want to just love everybody. I want to actually be in love. And so I'm having that experience too. I'm actually in love with somebody, and somebody's in love with me. And I haven't had that for years and years in my life. And that feels really good. So.
And this happened when you were diagnosed.
Yeah.
And I read one of your previous blogs, and you were saying, well, isn't this the craziest thing? Here I am diagnosed with cancer, and I'm falling in love.
Yeah.
Is this insanity, or am I insane, or maybe she's insane for doing this?
That.
So how beautiful that you look at this and explore this, and you just went for it and totally abandoned yourself to not what your logical mind would have wanted you and told you to do. You just opened up and surrendered to your heart. How beautiful.
Well, and you know, to have another person know you through, I mean, through the good times and the bad times, and love you, you know, not in spite of it, but love you through it.
Totally unconditionally.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also with conditions, you know, because there's also the whole process about, you know, trusting, because anybody who shows up in our life is eventually either a teacher or a student, you know, and so, you know, the parts of us, the parts of myself and herself that conflict, or the parts that really meld, you know. I just read this poem by Hafiz that said, you know, we played footsies in the womb of our Creator, so we've known each other for a long time before we came to this planet. And that's how I feel about the woman I'm in love with now. So, and that's how I think she feels about me. And I also feel that way about other people. I was at a meeting about death and dying. You know, there's all these circles forming about death and dying, and they're like salons where you can just talk about death and dying, because a lot of people have experienced a lot of people dying, and they want to talk about it. And so respectful, and so much tenderness and care in a room of you know, non-professional people, just, you know, and intimate, like layers coming off within 10 minutes of somebody talking about his wife dying, and you're going, oh my God, you know, should I even be hearing this? This is so personal. And then you realize that it could be my story, or, you know, my family's story if I don't, if things don't work out, you know.
Well, it's a constant shared story, is it not?
Yeah.
That we're all going to, at one point in time in our life, experience such things.
Yeah.
And if we are there to can experience other people's story, then we can experience our own story and prepare for ourselves to accept our own stories. Mm-hmm. But if we're not even able to listen to other people's stories because it makes us feel uncomfortable, then where's the doability there, hardly?
Well.
Yes. So I'd like to get back to what you said about your lover, your present lover, and the conditions. It's unconditional, but there's conditions too. And how do you honor those conditions at the present state of where you are at? Well, how do you talk about them and negotiate and dance with them and play with them?
Well, I don't know if I don't know. You should probably ask her.
Well, we'll ask you right now. How do
Okay.
you do it?
Well, I do it. I mean, my main issue, what I've found out in my life, is that I have to trust, and I haven't been. And so I'm trusting right now myself. I'm trusting my relationship with a. And I don't know how much you want to go, but with a Holy Spirit, and I'm trusting my relationship with her. I'm trusting that you know that first of all she does love me, and that kind of love that is that a healthy kind of love has to serve both people in it, and it has to also, to me, and I think to her too. I know to her, it has to also extend God's love somehow. And so that's what I've been doing, and that's what I think that a holy relationship is about.
A sacred relationship.
A sacred relationship.
And what is this God energy? How do you, opposed to where before you may not have been connected to it or acknowledging it so much, how does it feel now? What is this God energy, this Christ energy, this divinity, this sacredness of how is it in your life? How does it feel, and how can you verify it? And how can you express it to others?
Well, I think first of all, it's just kind of like telling the truth and understanding that the truth kind of changes in any kind of moment, and that I make up my reality, and that this is kind of a stage or a play, and it's an illusion, and I forget that all the time. I've had a really hard time making sense out of the world ever since I was little, probably from the time I was like 8 or 10 years old. Making sense out of the world. I grew up in a military family. My dad was a war hero, and I grew up on a military base, and I wasn't really, I was kind of sensitive, kind of goofy, blonde, skinny kid, easy target for bullies and to be made fun of. And so the world never really made sense to me. And now, with cancer, the world's starting to make sense. Because it's kind of like, if I can trust that even no matter what happens, and no matter what I've done, because I've done things in my life, I haven't been, I've had a full life. What does over the Greek? I had a family, I had a profession, I had the full catastrophe of living. I totally adopted the male role belief system and believed in, and have been unraveling that knot of, misadventure for years in my life.
Am I hearing you say that it wasn't as alive and authentic as you would have wanted it to be?
Oh yeah, and I didn't, for years I didn't think that I had really a right to be connected with a soul or a higher power or something. I thought that, that I was kind of condemned to kind of struggle through more of the material plane than the spiritual plane, or even the emotional plane, And I think it was a lot fear-based. Everyone knows it's fear or it's love. And, so my life, like most people's lives, has been half about fear and about half about love, or now maybe a little more about love than fear.
What were you fearing in the past? What were your...
the same,
Were there certain
like,
concerns, or there were
first of all, the fear that I wasn't good enough.
Okay.
Because I'm not really smart. I wasn't like the brightest light bulb in the classroom. And I don't, it was just part of the way I was being taught, and also part of the way of that, just how I showed up, and so it wasn't that,
So you were thinking a lot of deficiencies, a lot
Yeah,
of
I'm not good enough.
self-esteem, and
Yeah.
that you were not okay.
But the classic fears of I'm not good enough, that if I find somebody, they'll leave me, and so I can't trust anybody. I can't trust God, because how could God put me in a world like this? How can I trust you? Because you're going to find out that I'm a fake sooner or later, and then you're going to leave. And how can I trust myself, because I'm really not good enough? So, and those are, pretty three basic common fears that we get put in us. And I had pretty much all of those fears.
Were you aware of those fears when they were happening? Or were you totally
Well,
on
no.
automatic pilot with
Yeah,
them?
I think you're pretty much, unconscious. And the stuff that, until you bring a light to the shadow, you don't really see it. And I think I think I would go in and out of consciousness, I mean, like, I don't think, I still have my moments. I wrote about it, one of the things, I mean, I still have moments of fear. I still have moments of, like, not at total peace with dying. And I know that's, is that okay? Is it politically correct to say that this guy that has stage 4 cancer, that can write about love, can also have moments of fear to the point where his whole body convulses into, like, almost like, I had a moment one time, and it was with my friend, my close lover now, and it was almost like the reverse of being born. You know how you go through the birth canal, and you get that kind of being pushed out? It was almost like I was contracting so much and so tightly that I was being pulled in, and she just held me and brought me kind of back and let me feel it.
At this moment, if you were to die today, and you knew you were dying today, would you be afraid? And what kind of fear would that be?
No, I wouldn't be afraid at all. Are you kidding? Because I've got my story about death now pretty clear.
And what is it?
That, have you ever fallen asleep? Like after a long day, where and you just wake up and you don't know where you are, and you don't know what time of day it is. This has been happening to me a lot, by the way. And so this is what I think that happens when you die. I think you fall asleep.
And after you fall asleep?
Nobody knows. I think
Well, what do you think it would be?
For me?
Yes.
I think what happens is that there's a place where you wake up that you don't know what you're going to wake up to. So it's kind of, to me, like, and I don't know how to say it, but it's like, before we were born, all right, I believe there was some kind of consciousness. And so I think, and I don't know that we had any idea about what is real and what's not real. Like, this could all be a hologram, or there could be another multi-universe where I didn't go down that alley and see that woman and fall in love again. There could be, right? And so this process of healing and feeling for me is more about revealing it. So that's kind of what I'm going through.
Revealing it, experiencing it,
Mm-hmm.
and being with it,
Yeah.
and dancing with it, as opposed to before, as we're hearing, the fear was stopping everything. There was no participation in the dance. It was basically, it had you and was controlling you. And I think we're all in this same story.
Uh-huh.
We're all experiencing that, and some people are more aware of it and more conscious of it, and other people are totally unconscious of it. They have totally no awareness of what's happening to them as it's happening to them. And it's so beautiful that you could see all this and experience this, and to me this is living a full life.
Well, and when you see people, I
Yes.
mean, it's the amount of care and tenderness that people have, this is something that I think that I missed a lot before, is just how kind people are. And I think that I think that we forget how creative, how generous, and how spontaneous people actually are. You know, like if you're walking down the street on 4th Street, people smile, people are kind, people, you know, get out of each other's way. I mean, we do a lot of things really well as human beings. And that's one of the things that I've really opened up to, is just how well human beings have been designed, and how we've had these like kind of false belief systems that have kind of influenced us to tried to take away our heart or our soul or our tenderness or our compassion. And yet here we are. You know, we're getting rid of sexism, of racism, of gay, you know, gay people get to get married. I mean, how cool is that? If somebody would have told me that 40 years ago, I would have said that's pretty cool, you know, that whole arc of justice that Martin Luther King talked about. And now marijuana is going to be legalized probably in the next 4 years or so. I mean, think about that. That's going to change everything. You know, it's an amazing time that we're living in.
What do you think the marijuana does for people?
Oh, I think marijuana, first of all, I think it's the most healing medicinal herb on the planet. I think people are just opening up to that. Go on the internet and just Google medicinal marijuana or marijuana and cancer, and just see what they're finding out about marijuana.
Right. But they're not saying the smoking part of treatment. No. They're actually saying the oil for treatment of cancer.
Yeah. And they're saying all kinds of stuff about, I mean, I just heard this thing on the latest documentary that they're really saying that it's the cannabinoids in the marijuana, and the cannabinoids actually go after the cancer cells and have the cancer cells commit suicide. Now,
all right. Well, don't bogart that joint, my friend.
No.
All right.
Well, and you know, they're actually making hash oil without THC in it, so you don't get high from it. Mm-hmm. So, but you can have the cannabinoids, which is a totally hemp product, not necessarily a marijuana product.
Yes.
So,
my understanding of medicinal marijuana and marijuana is that the people who will be introduced to it, who have not been able to have it because they thought it was illegal, it takes you to more of a body sensation, more of a heart sensation. It opens up your consciousness more, mm-hmm. instead of you being so rigid. And I think it can be used very well for stress, because it pinpoints all your stress and brings it into one. So instead of being so scattered and you're nervous and you got anxiety and you're all over the place, smoking kind of just brings it to one point, and you're able to totally relax with it. Mm-hmm. And people on treatment, it's medicinal, it eases their pain. So there's so much to be said about it.
Yeah.
And also we had a guest, John Trudeau, and he was talking about hemp and bringing it back as it can be used for so much.
I mean, when we open up our consciousness, I mean, our prejudice, how we've been brainwashed, I would say even hypnotized, mm-hmm. against marijuana, is so amazing. And it doesn't mean everybody should smoke it all the time, and it's going to be, you know, a haze of marijuana smoke across America or anything. That's not what's going to happen. Mm-hmm. You know, it's going to be responsible, just like people have to be responsible with alcohol or coffee. You know, there's coffee places on every corner. Does that mean you drink 20 cups of coffee a day? No.
It has to be respected.
It'll be respected, and there'll be a relationship with it, and it'll be understood about the relationship with it, you know. And it just takes the criminality away from it, you know, which most people understand. I mean, in our country now, you know, it's going to win, so it doesn't matter, you know. It's actually going to win. So 2 states already have legalized it. So
we just have a few moments left, Peter, and I would like you to summarize where you are at this moment, and where you'd like to see yourself being in the next years to come? On a personal level.
Well,
what are you striving for? What is important to you?
Well, I would say there's, I used to do this thing called peace, love, and understanding. And so for me, I want to be at peace, and I want to be in love, and I want to be able to recognize love and feel love. And I want to be able to have some kind of understanding, like what's it all been about, and to be at peace with it. And so that's pretty much, and I want more moments of doing nothing, the quiet times. Like I like being with my friends, and I like being around my family, and I like the quiet times when I can kind of hear my own heartbeat and figure out that it's not my heart beating, that it's some kind of universal, unique heart that's beating throughout the universe, and I can feel that rhythm. Get out of the way. If I can do that for another year or 2 or 10, that would be amazing.
Returning to the absolute divine stillness within.
Mm-hmm. And the quiet,
Yes. No push or pull, or no doubt, or no acceptance, nothing. They're just words, they're just abstract thoughts, just being there and
Remember
in the void of all of it.
In Siddhartha, at the end where the river, the guy that crosses the river says, there aren't any words anymore, and he just walks off and stuff. Because there's a real understanding. And, I've had, the other thing I want is that I've had a lot of moments of fun, so I'm happy with where I am. And I still have time to apologize to people, so, and make amends and clean up myself and keep doing it over and over again. I'd like to have one day where not 1 second I missed one moment of the love that's available.
Such a perfect day.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes.
Like how sometimes I freeze a moment, like I see a flower and it's just like, whoa. And there's a bee in the flower and it's like, everything's connected and everything's perfect. And then I forget about it, And then I remember again. But one day where I didn't forget, kind of like in the movie Groundhog Day, where you got it, So maybe not.
Well, Peter, any word that I could say that would connect to you and honor you and to your spirit would be futile. I can only look deep in your eyes and know of all the great love that you have shared with me on a personal level, and I know the love that you've shared with many, many, many in the biggest community at large. And I know all of the things you've done in your life, that you were there for so many people, bringing the peace program and helping men connecting to their feelings and their tears. It's unbelievable, and it's so beautiful. And I deeply, deeply thank you. And I connect to your spirit, from my spirit to your spirit, of honoring all the love in you, within you. And I feel so deeply moved to have met you, and so honored in the little bit of time that we have met and spoken, and the times that we connect on Facebook and as such. And I know each and every one that's come in contact with you, unparalleled, they're going to feel the same way. And I deeply, deeply thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Because, I know the work you do and everything you bring to being here, you know, and showing up and having, you know, who you've created yourself to be. Pretty sweet. So
Thank you.
thank you.
And from the art of conscious living, do take care of yourself and take care of others.